want to welcome you back to another episode of 1x1. I'm Rob.
I'm Sue.
And we are the Parkers.
Welcome back, everyone.
Our non-sponsor sponsor today is
My X Fitness Bike. It is a exercise,
cycling /
workouts, all you can imagine in a bike. It's Beachbody's bike, similar to the Peloton. A little bit cheaper, a little bit different. If you're a Beachbody member, you can get all those classes that you've done, like P90X and all of the
bells and whistles.
All the things. It's been great. We love it. We each have a profile. Our kids can all have profiles that you can set to different things. It's been great. We got it. We ordered it well before Christmas, and it just came last weekend because every time it was supposed to be delivered, it snowed.
Yes.
And it's only snowed 2 times.
Yep, it snowed or iced.
Or snowed or ice.
Yep.
So it kept getting pushed, and then when we could be home. But it's been great. We've all been on it pretty much every day.
Yeah, and it's important to figure out how you like to work out. And that's why it's really your bike. You're the one who really uses it more than anybody else. And Sue is really trying to figure out what's my next workout thing. And we've been huge Beachbody. We've been doing, I figured this out the other day. We've been doing Beachbody. We started with Power 90 back in
No, we did hip hop too. Remember?
Yeah,
we did like
hip hop
dancing. We did like all of it.
That's not really hip hop.
That's not hip hop.
So
that's like 50-year-old.
I know. Well, I'm 49. I'm almost there.
Anyway.
So that's our non-sponsor sponsor. Couple things before we jump into our topic is we are on YouTube, but you can also listen to us on through podcasts on Apple Podcasts and Acast. So I'm going to put those up in our YouTube and making sure that that is working perfectly.
And of course, when you go on our Facebook pages or on our Instagram, you can click on that and that'll take you to YouTube.
Yeah, so that's good to know because some people want to watch. I know one of our friends listens on the way to work. So those are how you can engage with us. So what's our topic called today? Because I haven't said it yet.
Special occasions. Did you forget?
Okay. Why are we talking about special occasions?
Because this morning we had a very long, lengthy conversation about the future. Valentine's Day, the summer, what's important to each of us.
Yes.
Et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
It was a good conversation.
It was a good conversation. But I know sometimes you guys are watching this, you're like, oh, you guys are so sick. You make me want to gag. You know, gag me with a spoon. You remember that was really
I'm not
80s.
sure anybody says that.
But
I hope not.
80s. That
Please
was
don't.
80s.
Right.
But with that, it's one of those things where there are stages of special occasions. And we're going to talk about those. But next week is Valentine's Day. And so we really want to kind of prep out after being married for 24 years, after being together for 25 years. You know, we've gone through, I would say, typical relational roller coaster rides of special occasions. So let's talk about stages of relationships and special occasions. Talk to us a little bit about that, Sue. In the beginning. In the beginning of the relationship.
In the beginning. So I think it's all safe to say most relationships are very characteristic of celebratory stuff. Women love to celebrate. It's very important that you remember key things like date that you met, anniversary of when you got engaged, wedding anniversary, your first kiss, your first this. That is very important to women. I will tell you that something very funny. When Becky and Pedro were first married, she was talking about like something that she had reminded him that was coming up. And I was like, what's that? She's like, the 100th day of marriage. I'm like, oh my gosh, people will make anything now to make special. It a special occasion, right?
There's a day for everything.
There's a day for everything.
There's cat day, dog day, there's every kind of day. We'll stop there.
So, but typically women really remember a lot of that stuff. That's very meaningful. There are some men who do it in different roles. I'm not at all to say which role you should be, but in our relationship, I think it's safe to say I love celebrating.
And you love when I remember. So
I
in the
really
very beginning,
do.
We remember all of our firsts. We get married, right? You have your first, like you said, first kiss, first date.
Day you got engaged. What day did we get engaged,
the showers,
Rob, what day did we get engaged?
It was June 14th.
See?
Yes. Why do I know? Because I was taking a summer school class at Nyack College so I can graduate the next semester because I was in college for 5.5 years. And I took off that Friday and we went down to Ocean Grove.
And it was Flag Day. Just happened to be Flag Day.
Sure. Another day to celebrate.
Do you know what's a good thing, women? If you want to have your significant other remember stuff, I love like signs and things. So I always get things with like dates.
Posters.
So like I got this one that I think it was called From a Twinkle in Time. And it's like the constellation of the day we got engaged. And it says the date. So anytime he wants to forget it, you just have to go in the kitchen and see the date.
And I could be a wise guy and say we have one in our every room, but we don't. But
it would be
occasions
good.
are important to you. So there are stages. And we know that once you get married and once you start getting into really engaging in normal life, that there becomes a crossroads where couples naturally get off rhythm. And I do think it's important, and I know that there was a season when I got off rhythm of remembering special occasions, which is a no-no, knowing that for my wife, that they're very, very important. And it's one of those things that we have to understand, that we do get off rhythm, that we are going to forget certain things. And it's one of those times when you do get off rhythm that couples feel like they're at a crossroads. So whenever I have almost forgotten something, because I've never fully forgotten a day, in fairness, or like I would always buy gifts like 3 days before the first many years, 10 years of our relationship, you would feel very hurt.
Mine would be
offended.
ordered so far in advance that I forget where I put them.
Yes.
Like that's kind of the difference.
And I actually got into that problem last year. I bought you a bunch of gifts and I forgot.
Yeah.
So when a spouse gets off rhythm, and crossroads is what? What did you feel?
Felt hurt.
Okay.
Felt like you didn't care anymore.
Unvalued.
Unvalued. But it doesn't have to be that. Like there's natural things too. Like as you have children and stuff, then you start those kind of, let's remember their birthdays. Let's remember so it's a natural progression. It doesn't have to always mean it's bad. Yeah. Just sometimes it's a lot of dates to try to, to try to remember, right?
Yeah, but you feel unvalued and you feel hurt. And for each of us, there are reasons why we value certain things. So for Sue, the reason she values special occasions a whole lot more than me, and I'm not saying that I ever devalue anything, is you're a single child and you're a woman, and that's not being chauvinistic, but there are certain things that chivalry does not have to be lost. Like it doesn't have to be lost. It's important for men to be men. I know we don't like saying that, but it's important for men to be men, and at the end of the day, women value that. So for her, she grew up as an only child, and so she was celebrated all the time. They were big events, because when you don't have a father, another parent can sometimes overcompensate by everything being bigger, everything being better. And not saying that you like big gifts, you just want to know that someone's thinking of you. And so that's important to you. So why have I struggled with the whole idea of celebration?
So the exact opposite of why I love the celebration. Like I remember when the kids were getting toward, and not that I ever did extravagant. I never did extravagant. It was never about the biggest birthday party, first birthday party, but I wanted to.
Again, we bought the MyX Fitness because it was almost $1,200 cheaper than the Peloton.
So it's never about, never about that.
Not about dollar amount.
I can remember for me, birthday parties for the kids, was so big. I wanted them to feel like they were the only thing in the world that mattered on their birthday. Yep. There's streamers when they wake up, there's decorations. I mean, easy stuff to do, right? Not expensive, but to make them feel, if they're living in this home and they're here for their birthday, they're going to have streamers and balloons with their age and a birthday cake to blow out candles.
And if they don't live here, when they come here,
we do it the next time they come.
Same thing. It's a big day.
It's a big day, and we do that for anybody who's a part of this family. So to go back to what we were talking about, sorry, I sidetracked. It's exact opposite. Birthdays were big because I was so celebrated. Being the only child of a widow, it was like everything revolved around me. Whereas Rob, coming from a large family, it's
8
very
boys.
hard.
There was a time when 8 boys would be at a holiday.
And it's very hard to do that because everyone's all over the place. Yeah. So I think everyone says you two are so much alike, and we are, but which is very significant is actually our growing up was so different.
So different.
That we've been able to come together and say, what are we going to do from each sets of our lives, right? Yep. And for me, I was it's really important for me to value people's special days, right? To value them, to celebrate when it's someone's anniversary, like Valentine's Day, if the kids who don't live home, you send them a little riddle with a Venmo, just something to make people feel loved. Yeah. And for you, that wasn't even an issue because you're just always together. It was just different, right? Even if you weren't together, it was
And when
just
you're
so
one of a
many.
lot of kids, and this is not a knock on my parents, is you don't always, you don't have time. You don't have the energy. It's a lot to be able to think about certain things. And so
And it's
those
still
things,
a lot for us.
yeah, those
still
things
have
stuck
4
out
kids,
to me. And I just remember, like, I'm the middle child. I am the classic middle child. If you are in any form of counseling, you would want me to be sitting on your couch so you can say textbook middle child. Everything.
So what's been hard for us is that I love to celebrate people, and Rob does not like to be celebrated.
But I love to celebrate individuals.
Exactly.
So for Sue, I love to celebrate her, but being celebrated is not easy for me.
He's a
I've had to
hard
practice.
person to get gifts for, because he struggles with that. Is that safe to say?
Yeah. Yep.
So there's been many Christmases I was standing like this, couldn't wait for him to open it, and he's like, "Thanks, this is great." I'm like, "What a
And then I would
letdown!"
say, actually, this is great.
Actually, I really like these
And she's
versus
like-
all the other times you didn't.
Yeah.
So that's been something that we've really had to figure out.
Yeah.
Right.
Our environments, our nurturing has played a role. Our personalities, our temperaments play a role when it comes to holidays and being celebrated.
And even to this day, so even after being married and being together for 26 years now and all this, I still want to surprise him and do something that's going to be a surprise for him, something that he doesn't know he's getting or maybe has talked about once, and I kind of make a mental note of it or write it in my notes.
Can I just make a little note?
Yeah.
That's the problem with Amazon Prime, is because whether it's an email or like I was going to get her a Valentine's gift today, and I realized, like, oh shoot, I'm going to have to use Jeremy's Prime, ask him for permission and buy it through Jeremy. Otherwise she's going to see it right away. And I went on Prime earlier this week. I'm like, why are you looking at pop for me? And she's like,
why does he have to look at my
mad. I'm so mad. It was a surprise.
Anyway, but I think that's important.
That wasn't a
because-
mocking either.
No,
That
no,
was
no,
just-
no. But what's important is that we still try to do that because we know, or at least you know, that I value that.
You value that.
Of course, we buy gifts together. This morning, he was like, I was going to get you this. I'd rather you pick it out. Great.
Yep.
Is that like knock me off my socks? No, but we know now that we have those moments of knock you off your socks of surprise gifts. And there's moments where we have to be practical.
So let me just add a little bit. For Sue, holidays, special occasions are huge. For me, vacation is like a holiday, right? I kind of sound like a little English, a little Canadian. Maybe Bryce is rubbing off on me, being from Canada. When people go away on vacation, they say holiday. And so in that, it's one of those things like, that's very special to me. Going away is a big deal. That's like my Christmas. Getting away, relaxing, knowing that when I'm in New Jersey at any given moment, I'm going to get a phone call. I mean, even this week, 11:30 at night, people are texting me with pastoral stuff. And I don't have a problem with that. Unless it's an emergency, I'm not answering it. I'm just not going to. But we have to be careful that we do get off rhythms. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're doing this podcast, is to help couples create healthy patterns, healthy rhythms. It's important.
And I think what it comes down to, and this is what you're probably hearing underlining, is we've had to adapt, right? We've both had to adapt. Vacations are like your holiday, right? So Rob really values the vacation time of rest. I have learned to value that because in how I grew up, vacation was go do.
Yeah.
And you too, actually.
Yep.
You grew up when you'd Rob got to travel the world,
Travel the world.
but they always had to do something.
Yep.
And
Museums.
right.
Museums. And I mean, we toured Europe. Like, I know one's be like, it's impossible. Trust me. If you grew up in the Parker home, if any of my Parker siblings are listening, we toured Europe in 7 days. How do you tour Europe? You jump in a van, you say, oh, look it to the right, Big Ben, right? Okay, then you go to Switzerland, you're like, oh, we're in Austria. Look at all the gardens. Oh, we got the Germany. Oh, we got the here. And we're like, oh my gosh, let's just get home.
So he does not want to do that.
I don't want to do that.
So when we
Hate
go
sightseeing.
away,
And it sounds like I'm a spoiled brat, but I was a little kid. I didn't know any
So I've had
better.
to really adapt to that.
Yep.
Because there's things that I would love to do, but I know vacation is his time of rest. And now I actually enjoy that.
Yes.
Now I'm like, I just want to rest. I don't want to go do, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's safe to say.
So we have to be careful because we do, and it's not falling out of love, it's falling out of rhythm. So when a spouse forgets something, it doesn't mean they don't love you. It means they're out of rhythm, and it's a crossroads for a relationship. So when you get off rhythm, out of rhythm, you need to regroup. And you really helped me. You said, you're not teaching your kids, especially your boys, something very important, valuing special people and special occasions. And I really did take that seriously. And I've become a much better. And then now you're like, you just over exaggerate. You open a gift and you go too crazy. I'm trying. So it is also very important to understand which occasions mean most to the individual. There are certain things that mean a lot to Sue. Mother's Day and Father's Day are big holidays for Sue. Why? Because her mom was a single mom and she never had a father. And so Father's Day was celebrating her grandfather rather than celebrating her dad. What's a special occasion for me?
It's definitely not Father's Day, which is funny.
I actually love Father's Day now.
You do, but it
I
never
do.
was. Like, I'm thinking of like stages of us. And it definitely wasn't like the big ones like Christmas. I'll tell you what it wasn't. I could know what it wasn't. I actually don't know what you'd like to celebrate.
Well, now it's Father's Day.
I guess it's Father's Day, but that was a really that was a
and
recent.
Mother's Day. I love celebrating you.
Oh, for me, yeah. You love to anything that celebrates me. You love to do.
Yeah.
I thought you meant like for you.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know why. Again, it's the middle child syndrome.
yeah, but you really never like Father's Day was hard for you.
It was hard. No, Mother's Day was hard for me.
But Father's Day was it was a hard time doing like making you feel celebrated.
Yeah.
You were more concerned about making everyone else feel celebrated.
I always liked making my father feel celebrated.
Exactly.
Yep.
So it was hard for him to take that on, but you've been much better.
Yep.
For me, an ideal.
I hope you hear some of the vulnerability because some of you are like, I wonder what that meant by that. Why did he say it that way? Right? Yeah. That's all another podcast.
Yeah, another one. I think what we've really learned too is that for me, like, I love when we're all together. I love being alone with Rob. Of course, that's like my first and foremost. But then for certain things like Mother's Day, Father's Day, being all together. And that has been the biggest challenge for me, and Rob's really helped me with that, is learning that we can enjoy whoever's with us, right? Like as a woman, I think sometimes like as your children get older, it's hard to embrace that. Like, oh, we're having a family picture and not everyone's in it. And that might be hard, but it's getting to be that way with us.
I have to come around her, give her a hug.
Yeah.
Help her not to cry.
And
but that's a mom thing. Let's be fair.
Right.
That's what you're a mom. Right? This stuff's important. And they're important to me as well. There's certain things that are important. There's certain things, having a picture with the whole family. And the last couple of Christmases during COVID has been really hard.
We haven't had one on a holiday in a couple of years. Yep.
And I would say that the people that we're with on these holidays means a lot. We've really learned, and it's hard when I'm from a big family, Christmas alone is really important to me. Really important to me. And the last few years we've had Christmas alone, and it's hard because that's important to us. Mm-hmm. We want our nucleus because we realize too, Becky's gone. Right. Next year she's overseas.
Right. And I think that was what, as our kids got older, we realized the time altogether is so limited now. So we're beginning our own family traditions. When the kids were younger, we would be with so many people on holidays, and we'd always be celebrating 5 moms at once. And now it's like, I think it's time to take a step back and do just ours. As our family gets bigger and spouses come in and grandkids come in, that's going to be such a different experience for us. But we're going to have to start our own.
Yep, 100%. And so for us, it's one of those things we really just got to keep practicing. So a couple things, the importance of special occasions. There are stages in relationship. Just because your spouse may not be on top of stuff doesn't mean that they don't love you like they did. It's just stages of relationship. And that means that you're just getting off rhythm and you're at a crossroads. How do we juice things up? Okay? But we must begin to allow a day like today, right? People are going to probably listen to it on Tuesday, and Valentine's Day is the following Monday. We want to really challenge you. Make this upcoming holiday, Valentine's Day, special for one another. And if you are a wife listening for this, don't get angry if your husband doesn't respond the way that you do. allow this to be a season to celebrate your relationship with him. And I do know some guys that listen to this and their spouses don't. Literally, I know a couple guys that listen to this and their spouses don't. Men, show up. Go big. When you go home, go big. And do something really out of the ordinary. Begin to practice the habit of celebration and the celebrating of special occasions. So, any closing thoughts, and then we're done.
When I was younger and newly married, I would be very insulted if Rob forgot something. I would feel, not that he forgot, but if I had to like bring it up. And I think that I got over myself, if that's safe to say. Once again, our relationship's not based on a moment. Our relationship's built on our life together. So I think it's important to keep that perspective. I joked about having signs up with special dates. We joke about that stuff, but it is important. It's in front of you. We have a Google Calendar that says Rob and Sue anniversary. You know, we start planning, you know, in advance. This morning when we started this, we started talking about this morning, we started planning for the summer. Not a trip, but some activities we're going to do. And that was kind of what brought about
a new hobby
this,
together.
A new hobby together. And we bought some stuff to really do something different. So I think it's important that it's not you versus me who remembers, it's doing it together.
Yeah. And the longer you are married, I mean, it is so sad. We're at the age, or let's say the age of marriage, meaning being married for over 20 years. It's sad when we hear friends or people we grew up with that are getting divorced, or people that have separated for really bad reasons.
Or not even that. Yes, that's
just
terrible.
falling out of love.
Falling out of, like, they raised their kids.
This is like, you have to, there are certain years that you have to be on your game. You're 7, you're 10, you're 13, you're 20. And those are statistics. Again, I'm a minister. This is what I do. They're very, very valuable years. And we need to now more than ever be on our game for one another. And the reason we're on our game with one another is because you're 7, you're 10, you're 13. We were in some crossroads that we just need to make sure that we are staying on the path together.
And I think this is an opportune time. I just want to, it's kind of off, but we didn't have the best week of communication, right?
Yeah, after we just talked about, you know.
So last week we
stressed out.
talked about stressed out, and then of course we had a very stressful week.
We had a tiff this morning.
And we had one.
Matter of fact, an hour and a half ago.
Right, and we had one day this week, and I think it was a reset. It was that crossroad that you're talking about. That could be our new sign for us, because we realized we were out of sync with the calendar, and that was a big thing. I live by the calendar. We've talked about this before. If it's on the calendar, it's happening in our scheduling. And we had COVID kind of made the calendar different.
Yeah.
So now that there's a lot on the calendar again, we had to get back in the rhythm of doing that.
This is our busiest month that we've had in the last 2 years. So we need to make this a priority. Special occasions need to be a priority so that you never forget. Okay? So next week's going to be a really fun one. And then we're going to go into a 3-week series of really the pitfalls of marriage. So again, don't forget. I'm Rob.
I'm Sue.
And we're the Parkers.
Have a great week, everyone.